Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I found this article to be very hilarious and sad, but it follows the same logic, which is I'm good, you're bad. Don't look into my history, and I will find something in yours. All right, and this is France, and France. People are familiar with France's past. They know they did a lot of things around the world, including or mostly in Africa. They colonized Africa, parts of Africa, and they were very much involved in going left and right during Napoleon times, and not only, which, that's what strong nations do. I'm not saying it's good or bad. That's what they all do. With the exception of the perfect ones who never did anything. And I'm not going to mention them because you know that I'm talking about this and this and this, who never did anything wrong to anyone. And I have a few friends of mine who point out that one of those countries is China. So I'm setting aside the perfect countries. I'm talking about only the evil countries. In this case, is France and Russia, because that's what we're going to talk about here. Now, this article comes from Reuters, and it's from November 20th, 2022. France's Macron accuses Russia of predatory influence in Africa. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're familiar or you're not familiar, but France has military troops in Africa. It colonized Africa. It sucked resources, brought in certain things too, because that's how it was. But they look only what France did wrong or what bad acts they did, but not what they did good. And they did some good things as well. But in this case, France points the finger to Russia in Africa. You can make things up here. So Paris, President Emmanuel Macron accused Russia of feeding anti-French propaganda in Africa to serve, quote-unquote, predatory ambitions in troubled African nations. But France is over there to protect them from Russia. Predatory. To serve predatory ambitions in troubled African nations. Why are they troubled? Why are they troubled? Do you have anything to do with that? Trouble? No? Okay. Where France has suffered military setbacks and a wider loss of influence over recent years. Oh, so that's why you don't like it? So remember, this comes from Reuters, not from Sputnik or Pravda or whatever. Speaking on the sidelines of a summit of French-speaking nations in Tunisia, Macron, why are they speaking French-speaking nations? Why are there French-speaking nations in Africa? And why are not African-speaking nations in Europe? Africa, whatever, Swahili and whatever you want, huh? Or whatever dialects and whatever languages. It's not Swahili, it's like African international, whatever. Okay? So that tells you who was who and what was what. So, it says, speaking on the sidelines of the summit of French-speaking nations in Tunisia, Macron was asked to respond to critics who say France exploits historic economic and political ties in its former colonies to serve its own interests. No, mais non, mon ami. No, ce n'est pas vrai. That's not true. I deny it, right? And I'm quoting, the perception is fed by others. So it's just a perception. It's not a fact. It's just a perception. We're the good guys here, guys. Ignore everything. The perception is fed by others. It's a political project. Macron told TV5 Monde in an interview, and I'm quoting, I'm no fool. Many influencers, sometimes speaking on your programs, are paid by the Russians. We know them, but you don't do the same thing. A number of powers who want to spread their influence in Africa are doing this to hurt France, hurt its language, show doubts, but above all, pursue certain interests, he added. Didn't you do the same fucking things? Didn't you do that with your armed forces? Didn't you? Not only paying, you invaded those countries. And now you cry that those guys are doing this much from this much that you did? how do you call this? Anyway, France, the former colonial power in most of Western and Central Africa, has long-standing military ties across Francophone Africa, and French troops were stationed in Mali for a decade as part of counter-terrorism operation. Well, when those things happened, remember, in Paris neighborhoods, should the Africans send a few troops to Paris to counter the terrorism in the neighborhoods in Paris? Yes? No? Okay. Well, you can say, hey, those guys were a certain kind of people. Well, we get into that kind of debate now. Yeah. You like multiculturalism. You like multicultural societies, France. Because France, if I go over there and I go like this and I go on the street and I hear people talking, I grab a few of them, I don't know how many are really, Latin in origin, if you know what I mean. Anyway, critics describe France's operation as a failure and blame it for destabilizing the region further. No, mais non. It's impossible. No. It has also been jokingly for influence, jockeying for influence with Russia in recent years, with the development of private military contractor Wagner Group in several countries, including the Central African Republic and in Mali. Well, I think China is way ahead of both of these guys, Russia and France. And they, you know how they do it? With this. And they're nice. They say, hey guys, we never did anything to you bad. We came here to invest. We're going to do what the Americans did all over the world. We're going to pay you and you're going to let us get in. And then little by little, we're going to take over. All right? But we will be good people. So now you have the scramble for Africa, the second one, and unfortunately for the former colonies, which are about what, 5, 6, 7, don't call them European colonial powers, because Romania was not, Hungary was not, even if they try, and the others were not, Serbia was not, and they're part of Europe. So that's why I call them by name, because we know exactly who they are. And we know the names, we know the dates. So when you say, I don't know, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, Belgium, you can call them by name. You know who they are. Great Britain. Oh my God, how did I fucking forget that one? All right, as someone said, Great Britain arrived the last and always took over everything. So when these guys, Portugal or the Netherlands or the Spaniards were getting to a new territory and they were grabbing whatever they could, the Brits were coming last and somehow they took over everything. Well, not in South America, but in other parts too. I can't remember who that was. What a scholar. Paris had to withdraw troops in Mali after the African country's military took power in 2020 coup. Amid a breakdown of relations, the military leaders subsequently invited Wagner to help with a decade-long battle against Islamist militants and cut ties with France. So, yeah, I'm just gonna make a joke. These criminals out, we get these criminals in. This is when you as a country, Mali, you are not able to have an independent foreign policy because you're weak. And these guys, the bigger guys, are gonna come and always own you. And that's bad, Africa. Just shrug yourself from these things and become independent. Your own country. Don't allow those weasels to come and pay you, get in, and, oh, we need some troops here. Any troops in your country will mean influence. Oh, by the way, Germany has about 70 US troops, 70,000, 70,000 troops still. So, but Germany is independent. My fucking God. Russia has Wagner neither represents the Russian state nor is paid by it, but the EU has imposed sanctions on Wagner, accusing it of carrying out. Anyway, the thing is, these guys, the French are crying. Let's see whatever he says here at the last statement, and I'm quoting, "You only have to look at what's going on in the Central African Republic or elsewhere to see that the Russian project underway there, where France is pushed aside, is a project of predation." So he's just crying that other wolves are pushing this wolf out. That's what it is. And he's not saying, unless he says we're good, and I don't think so. It's done with the complicity of the Russian military junta, he said. Macron, Isn't that funny when you have a criminal pointing fingers to another criminal and saying, hey, that criminal right now is killing more than I kill? Which I think Russia has to, if it's about killing and oppressing and so on, is to, up its game, I guess. But you say, well, wait a minute, Russia was created by all these acquisitions of land. And yeah, that's true, that's true. I mean, that's what I'm saying. What country is perfect? I mentioned one. That country never did anything wrong to anybody. So and probably there are some other ones who were incapable of doing bad stuff. I remember when I spoke with my father one time, when I was a kid, and I came from school, because at school, in the communist times, they will push the propaganda that Romania was always a peace-loving country, and Romanians are peace-loving people and blah, 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 loving like me. And, and they try to push this propaganda like any other country. Oh, all wars we had were good, and in the name of good war and all that. So at school I learned, I can't remember what grade I was, 4th grade, 3rd grade, something like this. And the teacher taught us that Romania never conducted an offensive war, never attacked any other country. We always fought defensively. That was we're peace. And I told this to my dad, hey, Tata, Daddy, hey, they said that I learned in school that Romania never attacked anybody and so on. And my dad said, is that because Romanians were impotent? Because they couldn't? And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, so they did in the 1920s. Just look at their history in the Balkan Wars and not only. But anyway, look at the Hungarian Romanian wars in 1921, I think it was. Romanians got to Budapest and so on, at the order of France, by the way, and others. So yeah, they did shed like anybody else. That's why maybe those guys who say we never attacked anybody, maybe you couldn't because you were weak. And regarding that, you said, no, we're strong, but we're restrained. We're restrained, and that's usually what China says. But anyway, China is strong, but China has a lot of demons, has a lot of, how should I put it, back in its memory, it was fucked by too many Europeans. So I don't think that they are very, oh, it's okay, we forgot about that, we forgive you. I don't think so. I think they're waiting for that time when they get the upper hand, and then you're gonna see real fucking. So yeah, China, the history is not over yet. So yeah, you'll see. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Macron, crying. We'll lose influence. Toughen up, buttercup. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.